We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. MashaAllah, it is the 14th of Ramadan, and inshallah tonight, families all over the world will be celebrating the birth of Imam al-Hassan ibn Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, inshallah. Wherever you are in the world, make sure you visit family if you can. Make a day and celebrate the birth of our second Imam, inshallah. Imam Hassan was one to be known for giving his wealth twice in his life and also being an ambassador for his father, and also under his Khilafah, bringing peace in Medina. It's a live show and we do take in your questions, so if you have any questions you'd like to ask, inshallah, please send them in via the WhatsApp, the email address. Give us a call here live in the studio, +44 203 515 0199. If you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook Live, please just add in your questions in the comments. Inshallah, the staff at the back will be able to send the questions to me, and I'll be able to ask them from the Sheikh, inshallah. I'm your host, Mohsin Shah, and joining me is Sheikh Ali Maash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum.
How are you this evening?
Alhamdulillah wa as'adallah yamakum.
Sheikhna, is there any mentioning of observing conduct and ethics and akhlaq in the holy month of Ramadan?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. In the prophetic sermon with regards to the month of Ramadan, and tells the people, the crowd who are attending that gathering, he says, أيها الناس من حسن منكم في هذا الشهر خلقه كان له جواز على الصراط يوم تزل فيه الأقدام. O people, whoever among you improves his conduct, improves his akhlaq during this holy month, will have a safe passage on the path, the Sirat, as you know, the Sirat, in which one of the stations in the hereafter will have a safe passage on the path when many feet will slip away, na'udhu billah. So, Husn al-Khulq is one of the most important features of a mu'min, in which Allah Azza wa Jal, in the Holy Quran, in Surah number 68, ayah number 4, He states to His Messenger, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. You possess a great means, a high status of akhlaq, of morals. So, we can define that and find that part, or the greatest part of the religion is to do the akhlaq. It's not just to practice the ibadat and muamalat and the halal and the haram, which is also great.
I mean, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he came, he even said, I've come to remind you of your Lord and to perfect the akhlaq of mankind.
Exactly. So that is part of his message, of his mission, to improve and bring the akhlaq, the divine akhlaq, to the people of the world. That was a big change for the humanity when the Prophet came and he taught them the true akhlaq, the akhlaq of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So yes, we have to basically improve our akhlaq so we can pass safely the sirat in the day of judgment, inshallah.
Inshallah. Sheikhna, when I am performing salah, and if the doorbell rings or the telephone rings or so forth, am I allowed to, answer to that call?
If the salah was obligatory, the daily prayers, the wajib salah, then it's not permissible, it's not allowed. غير جائز to break your salah and open the door. Yes, let them wait behind the door because the salah is wajib. Unless it is a mustahab salah in which it is allowed in mustahab, because mustahab is not wajib. So in mustahab salah, there's a different hukum with it. But for the wajib and obligatory salah, you must wait until the salah is finished. Then you can go and answer the phone or open the door. Of course, you can quicken your salah. So just pray faster to catch up with the people who
maybe
are
you could
behind the
leave
door.
out the mustahabat.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that way, inshallah. Shaykh, we got a question from one of our viewers, and that is, what is the ruling concerning someone who moves forward and backwards while reciting? So I'm assuming it's reciting salah. We do see this sometimes, Shaykh, with our brothers. You know, when Jama'ah and stuff, while the Imam of Jama'ah is reciting, they start to rock back and forth sometimes, and wudu left and right. Sharia is acceptable or not acceptable?
You see, if it's not a deliberate, intentional move, then the one should stop reciting. Let's say somebody came from the back and they pushed them, and they moved one step, for example, forward. They have to settle themselves in salah, and then repeat whatever they said while they were moving. Just repeat the words, the tasbih or the dhikr in the salah, and then basically continue with their salah. Back to the topic of the husn al-khulq in this great month. We have a narration from Imam Abi Ja'far al-Baqir alayhi salam. He states that إن أكمل المؤمنين إيمانا أحسنهم خلقا. The most complete iman of a believer. What makes this individual a complete believer? Iman kamil or akmal, in the most complete iman and the faith of a mu'min, of a believer, the one who possesses what? The best akhlaq, the best morals. That is the key to the success in this world and the hereafter. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was successful with his great akhlaq, as the Quran witnesses and mentions. خلق عظيم. This great خلق of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam basically attracted his enemies, one of the worst enemies in Mecca and Medina. And they came and they became Muslims. So with the great akhlaq, we can attract the world towards Islam. We can attract the world towards faithfulness, towards purification of themselves from the wrong notions and the wrong doctrines and aqidah as well. So we attract them by the akhlaq. And we have dua makaram al-akhlaq. These nights are the best nights.
Yes.
For the one to recite them, dua makaram al-akhlaq. The best opportunity to try to understand and ponder on every single line and word in this great dua.
Just a quick reminder to our viewers that this is a live show. We do take in all your questions. If you have any questions, please send them in. I am receiving questions right now, and inshallah we'll be able to discuss them as soon as possible. Shaykh, another question from one of our viewers, and that is it permissible to read the Quran, Hadith, Qissa, and other supplications without wudu? They want the opinion of His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sheikh Hafiz Bashir al-Najifi.
Yes, the Sheikh mentions that it is permissible to do all these acts without wudu, reciting the Holy Quran without wudu, reciting the dua, the ziyarat without wudu. Although the wudu is more encouraged and the one gets more thawab when he is in a state of purity and wudu. But however, the Shaykh mentions that it is not permissible to touch on the words of Allah or Ar-Rahman or Ar-Rahim, or to touch the verses without wudu. That's the problem. So you have to avoid touching the words of Allah Azza wa Jal, the verses of the Quran, while reciting these ad'iyah and ziyarat and the Holy Quran as well.
Inshallah. Shaykh, if time is too short, such that if one performs wudu or ghusl, part or all of the salah would be outside the designated time, it will become qadha, what would be the alternative?
In such situations, the believer should go to the next step, and that is to make the tayammum. Tayammum is instead of wudu, with it's criteria with this regard. In what situations? One of them is one in the state of being in a too short time. So he wakes up, the salah of Fajr is going to be qada in 2-3 minutes time.
Yes.
No time for wudu. The wudu takes about 2-3 minutes to finish off.
Yes.
So if there's a means of tayammum next to him, do tayammum straight away and start the salah. That's the best way. Otherwise, if one has the time, then they should do the wudu and then pray.
And one of my teachers told me that if you don't have time to do wudu or tayammum, you should pray the prayer as it is, to stop yourself from getting the haram, the bad deeds, and then make it up by doing wudu and everything, and then performing it again. You should
But the
do
problem
that.
is you have to do either wudu or tayammum. So you can't leave any one of them, because there's time at the end of the day. There's
Yeah.
2 minutes left. So at least a quick tayammum and salah. So without these wudu and tayammum, unless the one is in a situation that is compelled, that
Yeah.
there's no means of wudu, no means of tayammum, the ulama differ in this situation.
Yes.
That some would say, khalas, there's no salah. Like a
Oh,
prisoner,
wow.
like a prisoner who's in a prison
Yes.
with all impurities, najas on his body, no access to water, no access to means of tayammum. Some were tortured, they have
Yeah.
wounds, bleeding, and so forth. So some would say, khalas, there's no salah. He can do it afterwards and make it up later.
Yeah.
But some would say, no, the hadith says that you have to pray in anyhow.
Yeah.
You have to pray, you can't leave the salah in anyhow. And which means you have to pray in this state without wudu, without ghusl, without tayammum. So it differs in terms of the ulama and the situation and how extreme is the situation. Just back to the topic of the akhlaq, just last part of this sermon, the Prophet ﷺ states afterwards, وَمَنْ كَفَّ فِيهِ شَرُّهُ كَفَّ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ غَضَبَهُ يَوْمَ يَلْقَاهُ. Whoever among you abstains from harming others will be avoided the wrath of Allah Almighty when he meets Allah. So in other words, we should avoid harming others, not bodily, sometimes by tongue,
Yes.
by bullying somebody. So we try to avoid it in this holy month, inshallah.
Inshallah. Shaykhna, when we have a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse, we perform Salat al-Ayat. But what if the eclipse is so minimal that it cannot be seen with the naked eye, but can only be seen via a telescope? Do we still have to perform the Salat al-Ayat?
No, it's not wajib and mandatory to perform a Salat al-Ayat if you can't see it by your naked eye. So it has to be seen somehow. Otherwise, by telescope, it doesn't. No, you don't have to pray.
Excellent. A student resides in a place and attends his daily classes in another place. That is the distance from the place of his residence by the prescribed distance. What is the ruling concerning the salah and fasting?
So this individual, he lives in a city and he travels to another city for work or study purposes.
Yes.
Doesn't make a difference. So he's a frequent traveler, كثير السفر, like a taxi driver who goes to different cities, brings customers back. So he travels while he's working. In this case, this individual needs to perform his salah in full, no qasr salah, and also fast, to complete his fast.
Excellent. Question from one of our viewers, Sheikh. If someone is sick during fasting and it is past the time of Dhuhr prayer, can he choose to break his fast? So he wants the opinion of his Grand Eminence, Ayatollah Sayyid Sa'id Hakim.
The Sayyid mentions that if he fears that he will be harmed with not breaking his fast, then of course he should break his fast at any time, morning or in the afternoon.
I see.
When you feel there's a harm, khalas, you have to break it. That's it.
Sheikh, another question from one of our viewers. That is, in the opinion of His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sa'id Hakim, if a person washes his head under the tap water, does his fast become void?
Not at all. It doesn't invalidate the fast. Rather, you can have ghusl of Jum'ah in the morning of the month of Ramadan. This ghusl, mustahab, there's no issue with it. But just make sure that there's no water goes inside your throat. So basically close your mouth and do the ghusl in a way to avoid water going inside the throat.
Another question from one of our viewers, Sheikh. MashaAllah, we're getting quite popular today. From his, the opinion of His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani, is it obligatory for a lady to pay khums on her dowry?
No, it's not obligation. It's not wajib for her to pay. No.
Okay,
No.
fantastic. Showing a couple of more questions that have come in. I think these are from the YouTube and so forth. Okay, is it haram to have candles which have the face on them? So they've actually sent a picture that hopefully we'll be able to. Don't know if the camera can see the picture there, but so they're candles, but obviously they've got images carved into them, so on and so forth. Is this okay? Because they are playing with what we call idol making and so forth. So, what is the opinion? Do you think?
You see, to have something at home with the picture of a living soul, let's say a picture of a human being or animal, for example, and you want to pray in that room, that is makruh according to some ulama.
Yes.
That to be in that situation, it's makruh. That's why some people cover or remove the picture, and then after they prayed, they would put back the picture. So when it comes to such ibadah, it's better to avoid it or to cover it somehow.
Okay.
Otherwise, having pictures, there's no issue with it.
Just when it comes to salah time,
It's a
make
salah
sure
time, yeah.
they're not in front of you
Exactly,
or in
yeah.
the room.
Exactly.
Ahsant. Hold on. Okay. Hello, I got a question for cooking. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned this doesn't look like it's cooking, but I'm going to say the question anyway. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran that human is made from clay, then semen, does that include Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, even though he doesn't have a father? Is he still made from some or the same material?
Well, you see, there are some issues mentioned in the Holy Quran. So there are details in terms of how, for example, Allah states how Adam was created, the details given.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to search through the hadith to see,
Yes.
does Ahl Bayt mention about how Isa was made? Is it from the clay, same clay?
Yes.
What we know is that Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, including Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa
Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
and Fatima Zahra, they were made from the Nur, Allah Azza wa Jal. So they have made, they were made from a different material, على كل حال. Not from the clay or mud and so forth. So, but the rest of creation are made from the clay and the mud.
Ahsant. Okay, Sheikhna, can you please explain what the Nasiri Alawite religion belief system is? I've heard the sect of 12 Shia like us, and I was just curious as to your thoughts on the sect of Islam. Thank you. I think, Sheikhna, when it comes to the Alawites and Nasiri, I guess they start off, isn't it, with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, and Imam Ali plays a very, very integral role. But I'm not sure if they continue with all the other Imams. Like, for example, with the other, we have the Bora Shias as well and the Ismaili Shias. They start with Amir al-Mu'mineen and then they don't follow the 12 as we do, I guess.
Well, it seems to me there are some different groups of Alawis today in the world. I've met some of them myself. The ones who are in Syria, in the 1970s, Ayatollah Hassan Shirazi, he went from Iraq to Syria. And he actually met thousands of those Alawites in Syria. And then he published a book called Al-Alawiyun Shi'atu Ahl Bayt. Alawis are Shia of Ahl Bayt. And they were actually believing in Ahl Bayt and so forth. But it seems to me that there are other groups in other parts of the world, possibly in Turkey, I'm not sure, who would basically consider Ali alayhi salam to be in a divine position, ala kulli hal, which is, of course, we don't accept this, and it's out of Islam. The one who considers any prophet or imam to be part of Allah Azza wa Jal, or give him the description of the divinity and so forth. So we have to see which groups are they, for example. Otherwise, this great man, he worked on them, over 2 million of them. They were actually Shia of Ahl Bayt alayhim salam. So we have to basically find out, read their history, and to see more about the backgrounds and how they moved from the tashayyu' to such state.
We've got another one here, Sheikhna. Assalamu alaikum. I live in Norway where the fasts are very, very long. Is there anything that can be done to help me with this fast? I'm a muqallid of His Eminence Said Sadiq Sharazi, Hafadullah.
Of course, this fatwa with regards to breaking your fast if you live in countries where the daylight is too long. It's been mentioned for
17 and a half hours.
For the past few years, we have mentioned this fatwa and in detail as well, and brought some opinions of other ulama as well. I mean, you have to go back and see and calculate the hours. If it's more than 17 and a half hours, let's say in Norway it's like 20 hours.
Yes.
Then of course you can break fast according to the nearest, to the city of your choice. Karbala, Najaf, Medina, Mecca. Take the hours and then you can break your fast according to those hours and not to the hours of the city you live in, because they have a prolonged hours of fast of days. So it really depends. Other ulama would not accept it.
Yes.
They said that even if it's 22 hours, you have to keep fasting 22 hours from dawn to dusk and maghrib.
Wow.
So ulama differ with the situation, but it's ala kull hal fatwa of whomever you wish to follow, of the ulama that you're following. So if you follow this alim, you have to follow his fatwa with regards to breaking the fast. Or you can just stick with the fatwa. I mean, this individual can stick with the hukum in which he can break his fast by the maghrib time. So he's not obliged to break early. That's the issue.
Shaykh, a final question. Is the practice of magic permissible in promoting good acts and removal of evil in some people?
Not at all. It's not permissible. Magic is not allowed for the one to learn and to practice it. It's not allowed at all.
Excellent. Sheikhna, thank you so much for all of your efforts, and thank you for all your viewers for joining us on this episode of Ahkam SOS. If you have a question that you'd like to ask, please send it in via the WhatsApp, the email address. You can obviously comment on the Facebook and YouTube, or alternatively give us a call tomorrow, +44 203 515 0199. Inshallah, myself and the Sheikh will be able to discuss and answer your questions. In the meantime, have a safe iftar. Inshallah, enjoy iftar and begin the celebrations of the birth of Imam Hussein, inshallah. Me and Sheikh will be back tomorrow, 6 p.m. here on Imam Hussein TV 3. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. During this blessed month of Shahr Ramadan, we at Imam Hussein Development and Relief Foundation are looking to provide food baskets for families living in poverty in and around the blessed city of Karbala. Each food basket contains a variety of essential food supplies that is sufficient to feed roughly a family of 4 for just about 10 days. By donating £20 per food basket, you can play a role in ensuring that nobody living in the city of Imam al-Hussein ever misses an iftar due to poverty. Contribute today and play a part through our website at www.ihdrf.org, or follow us for updates on this campaign for Shahr Ramadan through our social media. May our two masters, Imam al-Hussein and al-Abbas, reward each and every one of you abundantly during this blessed month of Shahr Ramadan as you work to elevate poverty from the great city of Karbala.
السلام عليكم ورحمة